Welcome to GermiNation, the podcast where seeds tell their stories. I'm your host, Cindy Hicks, coming to you from the Iowa State University Seed Science Center, a global leader in seed research, education, and outreach. Each episode, we dig into the beauty, wonder, and science of seeds, those tiny little powerhouses at the heart of agriculture, biodiversity, and global food security. Through conversations with scientists, farmers, industry leaders, and change makers around the world, we explore how seeds connect us, sustain us, and shape our future. This is GermiNation, where every great story starts with a seed. If you are a professional working in the seed sector, the graduate program in seed technology and business has been designed specifically with your needs in mind. The STB program offers a completely online, interdisciplinary Master of Science degree that provides you with current seed science and technology instruction, along with essential courses in business management and a rigorous integrated curriculum. If you're ready to be a seed leader, apply today at seedgrad@iastate.edu.
Hey, little seed. What do you need to help you grow?
Today, we're talking about two big questions shaping the future of the seed industry. First, what is the right level of education in seed? Is it a degree, a certification, hands-on experience, workshops, or is it something more? And second, how do you survive and thrive as a smaller, family-rooted seed company in a world increasingly dominated by mega corporations? To help us explore those questions, I'm joined by Jim Schweigert, president of Gro Alliance, a company founded in 1941 by his grandfather, Gerald Schweigert, on a small farm in Bruce, Wisconsin. More than 8 decades later, Gro Alliance operates across multiple states, serving seed companies nationwide, proof that legacy and innovation can coexist. Jim is also an alumnus of Iowa State University's Seed Technology and Business graduate program, where he recently joined the faculty as an adjunct instructor. He's lived both sides of this conversation, as a student investing in advanced education, and now as a company president deciding what kind of education and training truly moves the needle for business. In this episode, we'll talk about whether advanced degrees are worth it in today's seed industry, how leaders evaluate workshops, certifications, and continuing education, what it really takes to compete as a smaller company, and why sometimes being smaller might actually be your greatest strength. If you're a student wondering whether to pursue a graduate education, a professional deciding where to invest your time and training dollars, or a leader navigating consolidation in the seed industry, this conversation's for you. Let's dig in. Jim, thank you for joining us on GermiNation today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you.
So you're an alumnus of the Seed Technology and Business graduate program. Looking back, what did that education give you that you couldn't have learned just by being in the industry?
That's a great question, and it really leads into why I wanted to take that course to begin with. I grew up in the seed business. We're a third-generation family-owned company that my grandfather started back in 1941. And so I learned the industry from being in it, from a child all the way through adult life. But my undergrad is actually in public relations. So I didn't continue as a seamless path growing up in the business and then into running a business and being part of it. So I spent some time outside of the industry in Minneapolis, Chicago, and Atlanta working for PR agencies. And so when I had the opportunity to come back to the business, I knew I had this base of what we did as a company and how we did it, but I hadn't really gotten an education about the broader industry. How do other companies do it? How do other crops work? And we're a row crop focused business. And so coming back through the STB program gave me this, the kind of academic piece, the educational piece, a much broader view of the industry than what I saw working in our own company. So pairing my experience with the education was really a game changer for me.
So in your view, what is the right level of education for someone entering the seed business? today formal degrees, certificates, hands-on experience. We have even micro credentials now, specialized trainings. What is your opinion?
That's you mentioned all the different ways that somebody can get educated, and I think you really want to look at it based on what type of a career you're going into. And so typically as you're starting out in a business, you're going to be maybe in a more technical field or in a production associate kind of field. So there, a good base of agronomy and those technical skills that you might need to do that job are going to be really key and important. How you get those kind of depends on where you think you want to go long term. And the beauty about education is you can always add to it. So if you're in a situation where you think, I can do an associate degree or a micro degree or something that gives me a good base to get started and then grow with a company, you can start there, and then you can always layer in and add on additional opportunities as you go, especially because a lot of times companies would pay for that education. So, but if you want to, go for a 4-year degree or do something like that's a little more formal, you certainly can. It might slot you in a different place as you start a career in the industry. And I'd recommend as you're doing that, get an internship in the field. So then you can learn about, once I get into the industry, what type of company do I want to work for? You've got multinationals, you have family-owned companies. What crop are you interested in? There's endless choices of crops that you can work in. So it's really about identifying where you want to start, where you want to go, and then building your educational profile from there.
So as president of a company, how do you personally approach continuing education? Do you seek out workshops, industry meetings, specialized trainings, a combination for your employees?
Yeah, we do all the above, so we have folks who join us from other seed companies, and so they've had a career in the industry, and so they have a lot of experience at other places. And we have a lot who join us either straight out of school or from an unrelated industry. And in those kind of cases, we're wanting to get them plugged into the seed industry as soon as possible. So attending different conferences, there's different technical courses that they can attend, whether it's on the seed cleaning or agronomy courses, to learn some of the things that they may not have picked up, because they joined us from outside of the industry. That's what I really like, is there's so many that you can tailor to the needs of your employees and keep building on it. And then we're very active as a company attending trade association meetings. And I think you learn so much there, not only from the content, but just talking to other people in the industry, understanding how do they process their crops and how are they growing? What environments are they looking for? What challenges do they face? And how could we then apply that to our business? Or better yet, how do we learn how to do something different? And then we can use that to expand and diversify the company.
How do you decide when it's worth it to invest in additional training or professional development for your employees?
Well, I think especially in the beginning, folks who are joining the company that don't have a broad set of experience, it's really important that we get them into something right away. One, we want them to have as broad of an understanding of the industry as possible, so they know our place in it. We do a lot of third-party work for 120 companies, so it's a huge piece of the industry that we interact with. And even though you, as an employee at Gro Alliance, might only see one section of it, we want you to know that there's this whole industry out there, because you might be called in on a project in the vegetable seed side or in nursery services or counter season, small grains. And so having exposure to that really helps us broaden our talent pool. So I think I think companies are better off to start early, and then the folks that show promise and are moving up in the organization, then you can get into more of the leadership type activities down the road.
Very nice. The seed industry changes quickly, as we know. Regulations, genetics, technology, supply chains. What kind of education or training do you think are most critical right now for seed professionals?
I think it's really to understand the broader agricultural commodity complex and the understanding how your crop fits into just the world globally. Political factors are a huge driver right now to change in agriculture, whether it's changing export markets, changing consumer diet preferences, changing guidance on health and nutrition. There's so many factors that aren't directly from the seed industry or even agriculture that impact everything we do as companies. And if you don't have that macro view well understood, you don't really know where your company's place fits in, and you might be, skating in the wrong direction of where this market and industry might be going. So broad understanding of factors outside of agriculture that impact agriculture really important.
For a young professional considering a graduate program like the STB, Seed Technology and Business, what would you say makes advanced education worth the investment?
For me, like my personal story was being able to have that broader understanding in a formalized way. And what I always say is I really recommend that before folks get an advanced degree, they work in the industry for a while, because then you've had real world experiences that you can connect the education to. I think if you come straight out of school, you do get a benefit of getting a master's or higher level degree. But if you've been in the trenches and you've kind of fought the battles in the seed industry already, then circling back with a formalized education plan to help take you to that next step in your career, I think is a really smart way to do it. And you're going to meet a lot of great people in your cohort when you go through it. And I still stay in touch with a few people I went through the class with, and I graduated back in 2012, which crazy how long ago that was. But yeah, once you've been in the industry, then you really understand how to apply it better, and that can take your career to the next level.
So we're going to flip switches here real quick. We're going to talk a little bit about thriving as a small seed company in the world of mega companies. Gro Alliance was founded in 1941 by your grandfather, Gerald Schweigert, on a small farm in Bruce, Wisconsin. What values from those early days still guide the company today?
I like kind of talking about our business as an 80-plus-year-old startup, because what my grandfather did was try to find a way to make a little more money on a small family farm way outside of the Corn Belt, an hour north of Eau Claire, 2 hours straight west of the Twin Cities. So it's not in the heart of the corn world, and that's what we did as a business. And so he learned about hybrid seed corn production for the first time at a university extension course. And he thought, boy, that is a way that I can take my core competencies in farming and agriculture and get more productivity out of the land while using those core competencies. And that same vision has to be applied to business today. You have a set of skills, a set of technical skills, people skills, assets, and relationships that you can utilize to better your business. You just have to find the right path to make that happen. And you can do that in collaboration with the larger companies, or you can do it in markets that they aren't actively participating. So it's really about trying to find what is the thing that makes you different and makes you better, and how can you apply that in a bigger way going forward.
What a legacy. In the seed industry, that's increasingly dominated by large multinational corporations, what are the biggest challenges a smaller family-rooted company faces?
The challenges are just markets that you might not be able to be competitive in because you don't have all the right capacities and capabilities to do that. But the multinationals are partners for all the small companies too, in licensing technology and germplasm, partnering on other business opportunities. So a lot of times we kind of get into this, big versus small, or kind of battle between the two. They can be partners too. They can be part of your success, but they can't be everything to everybody. And that's where independent companies, smaller companies, can really have an advantage of being the right thing that their customers need in that moment, and tailor solutions to those customers.
So on the flip side, what advantages does a smaller company have that larger organizations may struggle to replicate?
One is, especially family-owned companies that have some, good foundation to the business, they can think a lot longer term, and they don't need to, where they're not impacted as much by quarterly returns and short-term, financial performance. You can make investments that take a long time to pay off, as long as you're doing that smart. So I think one is a longer look, and maybe willingness to operate at lower margins for a long-term future gain. That a lot of big companies really struggle to do that. The other one is being agile and moving fast. When you see a trend and an opportunity as a smaller company, There's a lot less hierarchy and decision making, and you kind of answer to yourself in a way. So you can move into those new markets more quickly. You can diversify the business faster. And I always recommend to companies take advantage of that speed. Sometimes smaller companies still move really slow because they're not sure of the direction to go. I would say trust your information, trust your instincts, trust what you're seeing in the marketplace, and then act on that.
What has been the most rewarding part of leading a company with deep family roots while competing in a modern, highly consolidated industry?
I think the answer is really in the question. It's being able to still be doing that and do it and have relevance and be an important company in the industry despite all the changes in 80 plus years. And we've done that by constantly reinventing the business, by looking at new channels, new pathways to market, new crops, new locations, geographies, new partnerships. There is no business that existed in 1941 that is still doing the exact same thing today that it did back then. Not a single company. And I told the story at our employee appreciation weekend last year about Nintendo. Nintendo, we think of today as this high-tech gaming company, but they started off as a paper card trading company back, 100 years ago, I think. And so that company had to reinvent and change. And even into the late 1930s, 40s, they were still in the paper trading card business. Now they're a high-tech company we all know today. So if you're going to make it 80 years, you're going to have to be different at some point over that time. Don't be afraid of that change. Honor the legacy. And the way you do that is by adapting and changing the business.
So if your grandfather were around today, what would be the best advice you think he would give you?
That's a great question. He would probably say, well, I wish you could ask him. I should ask my dad that question. Honestly. He would probably say, like, make sure you're doing it right all the time when you do it, and I think it's important as you try new things and do things, start small, prove them out. Don't bet the full farm on one thing. I mean, he started with 2 acres of hybrid seed corn. And anytime he did something new, it was always on a pretty small scale, something he could manage. So he could see it, and understand like how it was working and did it work and what do you want to do next? And my dad was kind of that same way. It's like, take those steps, but always make sure you've got the home front protected. And I think he would definitely give that advice today.
That's fabulous. So where does the company go from here? It went from your grandfather to your father, from
Yep.
your father to you.
Yep.
Who's next in line?
Well, my vision has always been build a company that has value to anybody and everybody. You never know if you're going to have a next generation that's interested in the family business. Certainly, all my nieces and nephews are exposed to the business. My wife and I don't have kids. I don't have a next generation in my family. But they all understand the business. They all interact in the business, but they're really young. So it's hard to know when kids are in their, 10, 12 years old, are they going to be interested in the seed business? I mean, in my story, I wasn't that interested in the seed business when I graduated high school and graduated college. It wasn't until I had some time kind of working in the PR industry and then had an opportunity to understand more about what the seed business was and what our company was doing that I got that interest. And so that, I was 23 when I came back. So thinking about their timelines, we've got a 15-year window, 10 to 15-year window here to see if they have interest. But what's exciting is that we've got that nice long runway to give that next generation time to see if they have interest and continue on the family business if they're so interested. If not, we'll continue to build a really valuable business that the industry cares about.
Jim, thank you so much for joining me today on GermiNation. We're really glad to have you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
To find out more about the Seed Science Center education opportunities, workshops, and workforce resources, log on to www.seeds.iastate.edu. Next on GermiNation, what are today's seed science scholars really looking for when it comes to internships and future careers? In our next episode, we're turning the mic over to a dynamic panel of seed science students who are preparing to launch their careers in the global seed industry. They'll share what excites them about potential internships, the kinds of companies and cultures they're drawn to, the skills and experiences they value most, and what seed companies can do right now to attract and retain top emerging talent. If you're a seed industry leader wondering how to connect with the next generation, this is an episode you don't want to miss. Because the future of seeds isn't just about genetics, it's about people. Stay tuned for the next episode of GermiNation, where every great story starts with a seed. Thank you for tuning in today. We'd like to give a special thank you to Let's Roll Snowball for allowing us to use the seed song. If you enjoyed it, be sure to check out Let's Roll Snowball on YouTube for more fun and educational songs for children. GermiNation is a podcast produced by the Iowa State University Seed Science Center. The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of Iowa State University or the Seed Science Center. This podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Thank you for listening to GermiNation, where every great story starts with a seed.